I have to confess, I have a bit of a fetish in League of Legends, and some of you may be aware by watching me all these years. I love playing champions who punish other players in very brutal and efficient ways. You guys have seen me play champions like Darius, Garen, Old Mordekaiser, and Trundle, who will easily tear people who misstep or get cocky. Best yet, they absolutely destroy people who try to play cute. For those that don't know, someone playing cute is basically akin to someone being very cheeky in a way that they perform stunts in game that have a disproportionately low benefit compared to their risk. When a person is called cute, it is their opponents calling their actions funny in a "oh that's so terrible" sort of way. Basically, they perform really bad trade-offs, and it is either because they severely underestimate their opponents and or overestimate themselves, or simply imitate what they think they should be doing because they don't understand why those things are done in the first place. In short, some people play cute and do very dumb shit because they get very arrogant, and others who play cute are because they simply aren't knowledgeable enough and thus put too much value on the wrong things. The purpose of this video is to bring attention to it so you can spot it better and play around it more. For a jungler, spotting the cute player can lead you to getting easy kills or tricking your opponent into performing stupid maneuvers, and if your teammate is the one who is being cheeky, you can plan to play around your teammate who is likely to become a liability. This might also help those players who unknowingly get themselves into these situations or commit too much because they don't know any better. The most common champions to do this are champions who have a lot of maneuverability because players get used to being able to use that movement to escape or perform plays, and as such begin to overestimate just how much of it they can deploy in certain situations. As such, champions like Riven, Yasuo, LeBlanc, Ahri, and such are prone to causing this sort of behavior. I'll be giving some visual examples in a bit and explaining why they weren't such good ideas, although I am certain some of them would be very obvious, and I also will give a heads up that some of the footage for that is older. Remember, playing cheeky or being cute is when someone commits way beyond what they reasonably should, basically because of hubris. The first one is a very basic one, but it's one that I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and honestly, it is one that I can totally understand people will not immediately think is wrong for them to do so. When they have champions with some sort of poke, and thus they get in front of their own tanks, sometimes being completely isolated, and just fire away. Sometimes they don't get punished, but if they ever get even slightly grabbed by some crowd control, it can immediately spiral into a kill and a very disadvantageous teamfight. It is not odd to think that some players do this because they've seen higher level players chunk away at people from a distance, but some players do these kinds of things simply because they can and are used to getting away with it. If they're up against a player or a team that knows how to punish this behavior, then it is likely to be cataclysmic. This next one is a very relatable one because I am certain you guys have lost games because of this or have been blamed for not following up or whatever. Basically, the act of horribly trading a life for an opponent. In some cases, it makes sense when you trade your top laner for the enemy's farm to carry or something like that, but it is a very terrible idea for your team's biggest player to die simply to grab a kill, and worse off when you put your team at a severe disadvantage for that. I'm sure most people have lost because of something like this. One player gets very cheeky and snipes someone on the enemy team only to be brutally destroyed as well. At best, they trade evenly and nothing happens. At worst, it was a bad trade and your team is at a huge disadvantage and then gets steamrolled right after. Hell, sometimes even in certain team compositions, trading 1-for-1 can be a very disastrous thing if you were a very central part to the team composition strategies. This is a personal favorite of mine, the junglers who try to force invasions because that's what the cool kids do. See, trying to perform an invasion isn't automatically being cheeky, it's when they are obviously trying to force it beyond the point where it is good. If an invasion works, it can be ridiculously strong and can sometimes snowball out of control. However, any delay in your farming, such as you waiting around for an invasion, is extremely detrimental, and more experienced junglers know this, so they often read the situation quickly and alter their plans immediately. Unfortunately, some very cheeky players get way too absorbed into the invasion and they commit way too much time. While an experienced player would have left already, they stick around and harm themselves without realizing this. Invasions need to be quick and precise, and the reward you're after has to be actually worth it. Invading a dangerous target who is likely not to die and could turn the tables on you is potentially worse than having wasted a ton of time. This one should be obvious. Just watch the video in the background. It's super hilarious when your opponent does the hippity skippity dances in front of you and then pays for it. The Rivens who get cocky with their dashes only to get cut in two, the Yasuo player who dashes around everywhere for no reason, only to waste all their potential dashes, the players who go all in against opponents who are not gonna immediately die. This is playing cute in the sense that it is things that don't work against better players, so to speak. It often works on players who are a lot less experienced, so they get into these bad habits. Either way, this is often not the worst thing as long as they realize their mistake and start fixing it, but we know that sometimes some players won't ever do that. Mostly this comes from people either severely underestimating their opponent's willingness to destroy them or not understanding matchups or champions involved. Now, these next clips are more just a combination of all these things. If you watched the videos where they were contained, you saw me go on a tirade about them. Basically, in the case of Ahri here, she had basically next to no chance of actually getting the blue buff, yet she inched herself closer to me, which is a very dangerous maneuver against Rumble. I fully suspect that she thought she'd be able to dash away all cheeky-like, but she just died. She risked so much for so little, or basically nothing considering she had no real way of securing it, but it cost her dearly. In the case of Rammus, it was basically a pointless maneuver that had negligible benefit but had so many ways of being punished, and it just happened to be punished in the worst way. The idea of just because you can doesn't mean you should is super prevalent here. What they gained or attempted to gain from doing these things was so non-existent, yet having failed it cost them so much the effects of the failure can be considered a big swing. Hopefully all these examples showcase just how badly pointless maneuvers get punished. It's a step different than simply being bad. It's being bad while believing your horrible decisions are actually good. The irony of this is that some of these cute maneuvers can actually sometimes be the right decision, but the trick is knowing the specific situations those things are actually beneficial rather than just death magnets. Either way, I hope you came out of this either learning something or at least laughing a bit. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet. I've also made a Patreon now, and if you wish to support me through that medium, then I welcome it.